Hi, and welcome to the Kelly Kitley podcast, America's Social Worker Unfiltered, where every week I have hopeful, honest, and deeply human conversations with changemakers. And today I am so excited to have Dr. Rachel Goldman, who is the author of the upcoming book, When Life Happens. She is a cognitive behavioral therapist who specializes in stress reduction, disordered eating, health behavior change, and obesity. She is also a nationally recognized clinical psychologist, speaker, consultant, and has won so many awards for the work that you do. And all of that aside, I'm fangirling over you because I have to tell you how I met you via somebody else who I had just met. So Hillary Phelps is a friend of mine,
Right.
and we had been communicating over social media, and she happened to be in Chicago, and she's like, I have a few minutes, let's meet outside my hotel. We sat on a park bench, we hit it off right away, we're both women in recovery, and she said, you have to get to know Dr. Rachel Goldman. You guys will totally get along. You do a lot of the same work. And I scrappily DM'd you, and you said yes to being on the podcast, so thank you.
Amazing. And I totally forgot about that connection. So yes, Hillary and I have not met in person yet,
Uh-huh.
but we've had conversations. And actually the last time I was in DC, I kind of tried to do what she did to you, like a last minute, let's grab a coffee, let's just hug, let's just say hi.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out, but it will another day. But I love that. I really love this. Is one of the things I love so much about social media is that there are so many connections that are being made that just wouldn't have happened otherwise. I mean, some of my closest friends, I would almost say almost all of them, I think I've met through social media and connected in person and have become like amazing colleagues and friends now. I mean, even years ago, like pre-pandemic, I'm thinking of a few of my closest friends here in the city I met because of social media. So that's
I
amazing.
love it. And Rachel, I think in our profession too, that can feel so isolating sometimes where we're
Yeah.
seeing clients on Zoom, writing a book, doing speaking engagements. You're kind of in this silo, or at least I feel that way. So to connect with other women who are doing the same kind of work is just really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and I love that you're now in my Rolodex, so to
Yeah.
say, right? Right? Like we have each other now to turn to refer clients to, and just to say hi and visit and check in as well.
Well, this is so exciting because your book is launching on April 7th, and
Yes.
I read the entire thing in one sitting. As you know, it is a snowstorm. In
True. So you
four
did have time. So you did have time to read
I had
it.
some time, but I was highlighting things. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist too, and the practicality of this book in so many areas that women our age talk about in terms of body image and feeling overwhelmed, being able to look at things from a lens of cognitively restructuring and behavior changes. It's so practical, and people are going to love that. So
Thank you.
thank you. And
It's
the graphs that you have in the book, I read it as a PDF, but to actually hold it and like the prompts that you give about self-reflection, and it is just so important for people to get this book.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's a little strange for me to hear that because it's not out there yet. So not so many people have access to it. So the few times that I hear that people read it and they read the whole thing, I mean, there's a few people saying, that are not therapists that it's like changed their life and they're already implementing the tools. It's just so incredible to hear that. And I know you can understand this from being a therapist perspective and an author yourself. that, you put your whole life, right, your whole career into helping people. And I mean, like we know one patient at a time, one client at a time that we're helping, but be able to put something out there, if it's on social media or on a speaking engagement or a book that really resonates with people, I think is like, kind of like I'm done. I'm like, don't even let the book come. No, I'm joking, but like I'm done. It's like, like
Yes.
amazing. Like if one person can read it and it changes their life, like I feel like I did it for the right reason,
Yeah.
and that's why I did it. I mean, I remember working at the hospital years ago and thinking I could see one patient at a time behind a closed door, or I want to just like blast these simple tweaks
Mhm.
that we can all be making on a billboard, and then Instagram became a thing. And I was like, all right, that's my billboard. And then I got offered this opportunity to write a book, which I kind of always wanted to, but didn't really think about it too much. And I was like, all right, that's my billboard. So it really means a lot to me to hear you say that, especially as a fellow therapist. So thank you.
Of course. And, before we were talking, or before we pressed record, we were just talking about the industry and the hustle. And, without these accolades that I'm about to tell listeners about, your work is so important. And like you said, it's simplistic, but um, as a patient turned expert, they truly changed my life. Being able to implement the way I think and my behaviors. So this is something that, like you say in the book, there's small changes that can make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
But
If we actually just do them.
if we just do them, right? Like we
Right.
know, but we don't implement.
Right.
And there's small tweaks that can make all the difference. And so,
Right.
you know, blasting this book into the world and having Oprah Winfrey have your back and being on the same stage as her talking about obesity and being on the Mel Robbins podcast and speaking at a Reese Witherspoon event, Shine Away. I mean, I have goosebumps all over me because we all
Me
crave.
too, just hearing you say that.
It's kind of a
I'm
wow.
like, wait, like, is that me? Are you really talking about me?
And it's such an honor to have those people who endorse the work that you're doing. But more importantly, I think what is so incredible about that is the reach becomes larger. So this
Agreed.
book will get into the hands of a lot of people. So
I
fangirling
hope
there,
so.
because those are all my dreams of platforms.
Well, I always say a goal without a plan is just a wish.
Yes,
So
you
a
do.
book for me was just a wish. I never had a plan. Like in grad school, I wanted to write a book, but there was never a plan. So it was a wish. And
Yeah,
then one day I was like, let's put a plan in place. Sure, let's see if we can make it happen. So it's all about putting that plan in place, connecting,
yeah,
putting it out there.
absolutely,
So that's what you're
absolutely.
doing. Anybody listening that knows those individuals and connections, you're ready.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, 88% of my listeners are middle-aged women, and we talk about
Is that
perimenopause.
what we are too? I think we
We
are.
are, yeah,
Right?
yeah, we're middle-aged
I don't
women.
think I've ever had myself say I've never heard myself say that yet.
Say it, just
No, I can't even say it. I'm a middle-aged woman.
yeah,
I don't like labels. So, you know what? I'm not going to say it again. I don't like labels.
fine. What about I mean, you are the sandwich generation, right? Raising
That I am. I
kids.
have said that recently that
Okay,
I do
okay,
really feel that. I
yeah.
don't feel middle-aged, but I do really feel the sandwich generation.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, no labels.
No
What I
labels.
will say is I really want to dive into the body image component
Great.
because um, GLP-1s, perimenopause, your specialty is in obesity. There's a real narrow focus I want to talk about today with you, and that is the use of GLP-1s. And I know you're not an MD, you're a psychologist, but this is your area of expertise and your specialty. And there are women who have gained 10, 15 pounds in perimenopause and menopause and may do the cognitive restructuring, may engage in positive self-talk. You talk about behavior changes like finding a uniform that you feel really comfortable in and getting dressed in
You
that.
really did read the book. you're dropping all my little thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I did say that.
and they're all things that I use in my day-to-day life, right? Like
Love that.
why one day do we feel great in our body and 5 days later we don't? And what do we say to
Because we're
ourselves?
human.
We're human. And there are women who are using treatments, medically assisted treatments to lose the 10 to 15 pounds. What is your opinion about that?
Taking a deep breath before I answer,
Please. Yeah,
so I can
pause.
respond and not
Okay.
react, like I
Okay.
say in the book. It is so complicated. It really is. And so just for anybody listening, we've all heard of GLP-1s. They're all over the news. They're all over headlines. They are medications that are approved and indicated for either diabetes or obesity. They are medical treatments available for either diabetes or obesity. And I'd like to put out that out there first.
Mhm.
With that being said, people are using them in other ways, in smaller dosages called microdosing, not in the, indicated dosaging titration schedule that it is indicated for. And for anybody, I mean, I worked with clinical trials years ago as a research assistant prior to graduate school. So I understand some of the clinical trials and things that happen that I think a lot of people don't. But in order for a medication to get approved, it goes through several clinical trials and studies where they look at specific individuals with certain diseases and, different things. There's inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria. And then eventually, after rounds and rounds of its being safety and, studied, it gets approved. So again, these are indicated for obesity and diabetes with certain titration schedules, but people are getting it at other dosages. And it's complicated because I have some clients that are on it for obesity.
Mhm.
And I have some clients that are on it for gain related, wait a minute,
Weight
weight
loss.
gain related to
Got it.
menopause,
Mhm.
related to perimenopause, related to PCOS. I don't prescribe it. So
Mhm.
people come to me asking me about it and or after they're prescribed it. And I'm not going to tell a client they shouldn't be on it, right? I think
No
that is a
should.
right,
No should.
exactly. But I think that is a decision that needs to be made with your medical provider, your healthcare team, and you. Now, yes, I become part of their healthcare team,
Mhm.
but I have never once said to a client, I don't think this medication is made for you, right? Even if they only, I don't like to use only either, but even if they want to lose 10 pounds, right? If that's what their medical provider and them have decided for them, there is evidence of, other benefits of being on these medications.
Mhm.
But we don't know in the clinical trials quite yet the safety and all of these other things for being on it long term at the smaller dosages for people that don't have these illnesses and diseases, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I was on, I don't know if you saw the Love, do you know Love Thy Neighbor?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a reality show. They just got signed for the second season. It's on Hulu, Disney Plus. I got asked to come in to be the therapist for them. I'm not going to call it an intervention, but when they first reached out to me, they were like, the girls want an intervention. I was like, it will not be an intervention. It will not be therapy, but I can come in and provide support. And they are actually sisters that live in New York City that are models. And one of them was using a GLP-1, and the sisters were very concerned.
Mhm.
So, for instance, what I said in that setting, exact words, I said, you're going to hate that I'm going to say this, but these medications are not indicated for you.
Mhm.
And I do believe that,
Okay.
they can be dangerous and unsafe for people that don't have weight to lose, so to say. But I also want to take the focus off of weight for a second
Thank you.
because there's also health benefits.
Mhm.
My clients, I actually, if you were a fly on the wall of one of my sessions with my clients, if they said to me in one of the first sessions, my goal is to lose X amount of pounds, I would work with them until they tell me a different goal. Like maybe that's your long-term goal, but one
Okay.
day you're going to step on the scale and that may not be the number and you might be disappointed.
Oh,
But
and you speak about that in a whole section of your
I
book
do.
about step on this. I'm not going to tell you to step on the
Right.
scale or not step on the scale.
That's up to you. But But what's more important is how you're going to feel. Like I have clients now that have been on GLP-1s that their weight has slowly started to plateau, but they're happy where they are. And
Mhm.
they actually are like, I don't know, like maybe this is my weight. And I was like, do you feel happy? Do you
Mhm.
feel healthy? Let's talk about the things you've gained,
Mhm.
not the weight that you've lost, the things that you have gained, your health, improvement in your energy, improvement in your sleep, improvement in your cholesterol, improvement in your hypertension, all these other things. And that I like to call it your healthy, happy weight.
Mhm.
Because the number that you have in your head that maybe you had since your 20s, that, oh, this is my ideal weight, this is my goal weight.
Mhm.
Maybe now you're not there, but you're getting closer and you're like, actually, I can't even imagine myself at that weight because I'm happy and healthy now,
Sure.
right? They are literally just numbers that we pull out of nowhere. Like I
Mhm.
literally said to my client, I was like, where did that number come from? And she's like, I don't know. I always heard like that sounds like a good number.
Mhm.
Maybe it sounds like a good number to somebody else,
Sure.
right? So there's so much nuance, there's so much nuance to this,
Mm.
and there's so much to consider. But what I will say is for the people that are on it that have struggled with obesity or have truly struggled with their weight and their health, it can be life-changing,
Oh,
literally.
absolutely.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I see that with my clients. I see that with all the people that I've, been in contact with through all the different things that I've been doing. And I think that is something that isn't talked enough about. I think the headlines and the media is kind of focusing more so on the person that wants to lose the 5 pounds, the 10 pounds, that's now looking maybe too skinny, maybe this, maybe that. Again, I don't like to judge by appearance because we don't know what anybody's going through. We don't know their story. We don't know their medical history. But I like to focus on the people that it's truly helping because
Yes.
it really is a game changer for our field and for the science
Mhm.
and the treatment of obesity.
And my area of expertise is in addiction. And so some of that,
Overlaps a lot.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it is amazing. And I guess my concern is similarly to maybe our parents' generation. My mother-in-law talks about when she was a young mom, like everybody was on fen-phen,
right,
and nobody ate and everybody had energy.
right.
And I am seeing women our age who look like 12-year-old boys because they're taking some of these GLP-1s and they're not eating and they're,
And they're
not.
not being followed
Thank
properly.
you.
They're
Yeah.
not exercising. They're not
Yes.
getting the protein in.
Yeah.
Right. And that
So,
and that's where then I think it can become quite harmful for sure. And I mean, again, I said to my clients, some of my clients were like, I'm kind of worried that like I might lose too much weight. And I
mhm,
was like, well, we're going to keep an eye on it.
mhm.
And I was like, we're going to keep an eye on also your behaviors and how you're feeling. It
Yep.
was like, if you start not having energy, if you start, having difficulty sleeping, if you start losing, like, I also make sure they're eating regularly throughout the day. If you have no appetite and you're skipping meals,
Mhm.
because they're working with somebody like me, we can be really on top of it and we can catch it before that would happen. Although I also don't think that would happen. Like, it eventually does slow down and there is such a thing as set point theory, and it's where your body wants to be. We saw this. So I worked in bariatric surgery for years
Mhm.
prior to starting my private practice. And what we would sometimes see in bariatric surgery is that people would lose a little bit too much weight, but
Mhm.
then it comes back.
Sure.
Like, and I said this to them, I was like, if you start seeing that it's dipping a little bit, I almost can guarantee that it's going to dip back in the other direction in the place. But again, I'm working with them weekly and
Mhm.
we're keeping an eye on it.
Mhm.
Right. And they're working very closely with their obesity medicine specialist or their endocrinologist.
Sure.
So the people that are microdosing and getting it compounded and in other ways, they're not working with those healthcare teams. They're not working with a dietitian, a trainer, a behavioral health professional, an MD, et cetera. And that's where it can get a little scary.
Sure. So can we talk about the cognitive piece of it? Because you give an example in the book about, when we see a picture of ourselves, we tend to zoom in. How do I look? Like, do I look old? Do I look fat? Do I look
I
tired?
love, I love that you brought this up.
Instead of looking at the whole picture, right? So zoom out. What was that experience like? How were you feeling then? And we all have that experience too of like seeing a picture 5 years ago that we were like, why didn't I love my body then? I
Right.
picked it apart. So, can you give listeners tools for what do we say to ourselves?
Yeah.
How do we not have toxic positivity? Because that is really important. Um,
Right.
this Pollyanna idea that everything's great and we're not doing that, but more so
Right.
of a realistic grounding. How do we talk to ourselves
Yeah.
that is soothing and nice?
Yeah. So the first thing we need to do is be able to identify when we're not speaking to ourselves kindly, right? So like the example you gave of zooming in would be a great example, right? You notice that you're zooming in and picking yourself apart, and you can be like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good, right? And that's kind of my quick jump to, is it a helpful or unhelpful thought? If it doesn't feel good, it is not helpful. Period. That's it. We
Yeah.
don't need to analyze it and overthink it,
Hmm.
right? That thought of whatever it is, you're picking yourself apart, doesn't feel good. Okay, that then you identify this is not a helpful thought. What can I do instead? And there's a few things we can do, and I kind of take us step by step in the book. But in CBT, we can either just like pause and let the thought pass because they will pass, right? Thoughts are temporary, they are not facts. I like to think of them as a cloud. They slowly pass by, but they do pass, right? So we could just kind of sit with them and let them pass by. I like to do things a little more active. But for some people, that works.
Hmm.
I like to be like, you know what? That is not helpful. What am I going to do about it? And then I'm going to think of a more realistic, grounded, neutral thought. The reason I say realistic, neutral, and grounded is because, just as you said, toxic positivity is not helpful.
Hmm.
So let's do a quick example. When you zoom in, or maybe not you, when
Sure,
somebody
it's
you,
just me.
well, no, it's okay. When somebody like us, middle-aged woman, might zoom in on a picture, what do you think they might think to themselves? First automatic thought they would have, what?
My stomach looks fat.
Okay, great. Great example. Very realistic for a lot of people that they have that thought, right? So now I'm like, all right, my stomach looks fat. Wait a minute, that does not feel good. I'm, labeling myself. I'm doing this. Is that really true? You can examine the evidence. And then you don't want to immediately jump to the super positive opposite
Mhm.
because that might not be realistic, right? So, what would be the complete opposite of that?
I have six-pack abs.
No, I'm laughing because it really is a complete opposite. I love that
Right?
example, right?
Which
So,
extreme?
right, no, which is great because I always say the unhelpful thought is probably pretty extreme and the toxic positive thought is also extreme. So, great. So, if you were to say, my stomach looks fat, and then you're like, nope, I have a six pack, how's that going to make you feel if you don't have a six pack?
Horrible.
Probably right, not good, right? It's unrealistic, which is why I don't think jumping to the super positive thought is helpful.
Uh-huh.
Instead, we want to be realistic and meet you where you are right now. So it doesn't have to be super negative, it doesn't have to be super positive.
Mhm.
What might a neutral
Mhm.
thought be that just makes you feel okay? You don't have to feel great, but you don't have to feel horrible either.
This stomach carried four children.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. You really did read the book. And I know you know your stuff too. But so what you just did was actually what we call body neutrality, which
Mhm.
is focusing on the function of our body instead of the appearance. My stomach looks fat is appearance focus. This body, my stomach carried four children for you, not me. I did not have four children. Put that out there. Is focusing on the function.
Mhm.
And right there, if you were to say that out loud as you just did, how did that make you feel?
Like I could exhale. It
Right.
just kind of calmed me.
Right. It's grounding, it's calming. It's probably also a fact,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
My body, my stomach looks fat is not a fact. That's a thought,
Uh-huh.
right? It's how I perceive it. But you carried four children, that is a fact. Nobody can take that away from you, right?
Mhm.
So what we could do, so one tip would be to, in order to tweak that thought to make it more grounded and neutral and calming, would be to state the function.
Mhm.
Something else you could do was just be realistic in where you are now. And maybe don't say my stomach looks fat, but it could be this is where I am in my life right now,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm trying to make myself feel better, or I'm
Mhm.
doing things to make myself feel better,
Mhm.
right? So I like that I'm trying
Yeah.
and to be actually realistic with what you're doing, right? Like we don't have to love every inch of our body every minute of the day. Like you don't have to love your stomach, but I would like you to love your stomach for what it does for you, right?
Sure.
But there's a difference. So you could say, my stomach carried my four children, and I'm going to the gym to try to make myself feel better about my stomach. Awesome.
Hmm.
Right? If that's true.
Yeah. Hmm.
So the key to what we just did is how we're explaining how our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are linked. Saying my belly looks fat doesn't feel good, so it's an unhelpful thought. Can we tweak it to make it more grounded and make us feel better? What you said made you feel calmer. You took an exhale. Great. So that's what we could do. But the first step is to identify that we all have negative thoughts. We all have unhelpful thoughts. The less that we can sit with them, the easier it will be. So we can still have them. My goal for you is not to just, woof, they're all gone. Our brain is going to have unhelpful thoughts. That's okay. But what do you do with the thought matters? Are you going to sit with it and feel horrible about it and beat yourself up all day? Or are you going to be like, oh, this is just a thought. Let me go do something else and distract myself. Or, oh, this is just a thought. Let me tweak it to be a little more helpful and realistic.
Yeah.
It's what we do with the thought that matters.
And not, don't believe everything you think.
Exactly. It's just a fact. I mean, thoughts are just thoughts. They're
They're just
not
thoughts.
facts.
Well,
Exactly.
and that's really helpful in the treatment of obsessive compulsive disorder too, or intrusive
Oh my
thinking.
God, of course. Yes.
I love CBT because,
Me
like
too.
you, I'm solution focused, I'm a problem solver, and
I need to take action. Like I
I
am
need to
not
take
just sitting here.
action, right? And I am the one in control here. So,
I love that you said
and
that.
it is transferable everywhere, right? Like whether it's a mood disorder or body image or finances, or
Anxiety, stress, anything.
I'm
Whatever,
cognitively restructuring all day long of all the
yes, whatever you are going through, whatever each listener is going through right now, you actually can use a CBT tool to help you get through it.
Mhm.
Goal setting, that's a CBT tool. Like, New Year's just happened, goal setting, like
Mhm.
whatever it is. And that's what I love about CBT so much. And really, that's why I wrote this book, because I want to make CBT more accessible. It is not a replacement for therapy at all. But
Right.
I do think that there are tools available that are based in CBT that we can all use every day to help us.
Mhm.
I mean, even something like the mind body connection and a breathing exercise, imagery, visualization, role playing, all of these things are CBT tools,
Yeah. Oh
but
my
you
gosh, we're
don't
such
have,
nerds. We're
I
like
know.
so excited. Oh
Oh my God. You, you want to hear how nerding I am? How
my
much of a nerd
gosh.
I am?
Wait.
My son tells me how he's learning about butterfly breathing and I don't know, this breathing exercise and that breathing exercise. And one day he came home telling me about a growth mindset. And I'm like, oh, if I learned about a fixed and a growth mindset in elementary school, wow, would our generation be in a different place right now?
I love that. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that is so important to hear because whether you're 2 or 3 or 99, you
this is
can
all
change
relevant.
behaviors. My biggest pet peeve is like, well, this is the way that they are and they're always going to be like this. Well, we're in the behavior changing business. And so I do believe anybody, if they have a
Yes.
desire and a willingness, can change their thoughts and behaviors.
Absolutely. I do agree, but I do want to say it is harder if it is something you've been doing for longer and longer and longer.
Okay.
So it,
Thank
it
you.
may just take a little bit more time. It may take a little bit more effort. You might need a little bit more extra help or accountability, but it's not impossible if you want to do it and you put a plan in place. Again, a goal without a plan is just a wish.
Yeah. So the repetition, the structure, accountability,
Yes.
and what I called your book a Bible before we pressed record.
Oh,
The
the CBT Bible. Let's
CBT
label
Bible.
that.
That's the new tagline. It is a
Yes.
manual for
Yes, it is.
thinking, feeling, and moving behaviors change. Um, and so I think the question I want to ask you as we're in this chat GPT world, I've had clients say, well, I chat GPT'd it and they said, she said this. What are your thoughts? Do you think that we are at risk of misinformation with our kids' generation getting a lot of this information on TikTok? I mean, our population that you and I serve are primarily women, are people our age, right, who still like to pick up a book or listen to Audible. And a lot of our kids generation want snapshots, quick fixes, right? Tell me what to do on TikTok, tell me what to do on ChatGPT. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So I actually also work with a lot of clients in the generation or two younger than myself.
Sure.
So I actually hear that a lot, what you just described. But what I hear is, I saw this diet on TikTok. What do you think?
Mhm.
And my immediate reaction is, thank you for asking me before you try it. And then
Oh,
we could talk about it.
yeah.
So I love that people are asking that question. Like,
Mhm.
I saw this on ChatGPT. I saw this on TikTok. What do you think? But does it scare me? Yes. There is so much misinformation out there on all the social media platforms and on ChatGPT and all these AI generated things that are out there. That does scare me. And that's why I think it's important, which it doesn't, unfortunately, doesn't mean as much like it used to, but like the verification on Instagram, I wish years ago I spoke to Instagram actually about this, and I was like, can you have color-coded check marks? Like make one for the person that has the degrees, that has the certification, that has the
Yeah.
expertise. I know it
They
was too
didn't, they
difficult
didn't.
to, I mean, I think when I brought it up, it was like too difficult because they already implemented the regular one.
Okay.
I would love to see that. If anybody's listening, I would love to see that still happen on these platforms because what I tend to tell people is when you see something out there that interests you, look at the source, right? And then look up the source. Do they have initials after their name? Do they have degrees? Do they have certifications? What is their background? And yes, I do think people sharing their own experiences is quite powerful
Sure.
because it worked for them. It might. You might be able to resonate and feel like, oh my God, that sounds like me. Maybe it's something I should try.
Mhm.
But talk to your healthcare professional or your therapist or somebody first.
Mhm.
But I think we can get a lot of information and ideas which can be helpful and not helpful.
Mhm.
But really look to see where this information is coming from, I think is the most important thing we can do. Be mindful. And I say this often actually, be mindful of the information you are consuming and where it's coming from. And then have your go-to person. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a healthcare professional, run it by them. Don't just start doing something new just because somebody else did it, right?
Right.
You don't know what their medical history is. You don't know really what their life looks like. I don't care if people say this is what I eat in a day. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call them out. That is not what they eat in a day. They probably eat so much more, or they don't even eat that.
Mhm.
Um, so you can't really rely on people sharing that full story. So you
Mhm.
need to like now think about it. And I like to think of, it's the same question I get often is what diet should I do? Quote, should, I hate that
Mhm.
word.
Mhm.
And I'm always like, you need to do what works for you. And like most things in life, I think we take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and we create what works for us. I
Yeah.
also don't like the word diet and don't believe in them, but I
Mhm.
get asked that question a lot. And I'm literally like, if this works for you, take that. If this works, take that. But you
Yeah.
don't want anything too restrictive. You don't
Sure.
want anything too limiting and anything too rigid.
Mhm. And, with all the information we get, sometimes it's so important to put our blinders on, whether it's parenting or,
Oh my
uh,
gosh. Yes. When
you
I
know,
first had my children, wow. I
like
am
there's
like,
so much information. It's like,
I am literally like, I don't want to know what you did.
yeah,
I'm going to do what works for me and my family. I don't want to know.
yeah,
Like there is too
too
much
much.
information. It's information overload. And this is where I talk about this in the book too. A lot of people get stuck in their thoughts or stuck making a decision because there's too much information. You have too many choices,
Mhm.
right? It's like think of just cereal on a grocery aisle. Like
Mhm.
you have a million choices. You're going to stand there and not know which one to get. If
Yeah,
we only had two choices,
yeah,
it would be easier to decide, right? It's like, do you want this jacket or that? Do you want to, it's like children. Do you want to wear the red shoes or the blue shoes? That's it.
yeah,
We're not
right.
going to have 20 options. This for dinner or that for dinner. That's it.
I love that.
It's easier. We want to take some of the work out.
Yeah,
Life is tough enough. Let's try to limit the information that we're consuming to a degree to make it a little easier.
yeah. That must be, well, not must be, but I know why my mom likes to do her grocery shopping at Walgreens. There are less choices.
Yeah,
She has to
it's so
make,
much easier. Or
like,
I
well,
just go in with my list and I literally, if it is not on the list, I don't get it. I'm like, that's it. It is on the
wow,
list.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Don't bring your kids grocery shopping with you then.
I do, and it's cute because my son started making the list.
Uh-huh.
And it's good, but he'll be like, wait, but it says maple syrup next. Why are we getting the baby carrots? And I'm like, because maple syrup means we have to go all the way on the other side, which actually would probably be smart. Let's go all the way over there, come back here, go there. But I like to be efficient.
Mhm.
But no, most of the time we're good about keeping to our list. Not always. As
Sure.
I say, it's what we do on most days,
Right.
but that's
There has to
okay.
be some flexibility, not too much rigor,
Yes,
because that I
exactly.
think
But
that's
go with a list. It makes it easier.
last question. I'm always so curious to know what brought you into this field?
Oh my gosh. How much time do you have? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's actually it's kind of a short answer. Um, I'm trying to think if I put this in the book. I guess not. Um,
Maybe you did and I missed it.
no,
I
you
was
know,
curious, like what?
no, I don't think I did. Now that you ask, I put a lot in the intro.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember my editor was like, a lot of people don't read the introduction. I'm like, oh, I really hope they do because I put so much of why I wrote this book in the intro. Um, but anyways, so I actually never wanted to be a psychologist. Never. That is one thing I knew I didn't want to be, funny enough. It's because my mother is
Mhm.
not a psychologist, but majored in psychology. I'm very much like my mother. And growing up, I realized that, and I was like, I need to be myself. I'm not going to go into psychology. She actually became a teacher. But I was like, I'm not going to major in psychology. I never took a psychology class in my life. Like high school, they offered one. I'm like, nope, not doing it. Mom did it. I'm not doing it. Um, and then, so I also danced growing up, but I knew I didn't want a career out of dance necessarily. It was a hobby. I enjoyed it. I wanted to keep it as a hobby and something I enjoyed. I didn't want the structure and too much pressure that I think comes with that a lot. So I decided, how can I combine my joy of dance and my interest in helping people? So I went to school my freshman year for something called dance science. It is to be kind of like a physical therapist for dancers.
Okay.
Went to school my freshman year for that, but I grew up in a very small town in Maryland as a dancer, never was exposed at all to the pressures and the rigidity and the eating disorder world that a lot of dancers see
Sure.
until I went to a college that was majority female, majority dancers.
Can I ask what college that was?
Goucher College in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
At the time, it was known for dance. I'm not really sure if it still is or not. Small liberal arts college, and witnessed
Hmm.
behaviors that I was very curious about and was like, huh, I think I want to go into psychology and study eating disorders. I wanted to know what was going on in the individual's brains that made them restrict so much and put all this pressure on themselves. And I even witnessed it, like, I mean, to so many degrees. So I remember saying I was very happy at that school, but I figured I could maybe be happier. So I decided I'm going to apply to transfer to University of Maryland, grew up in Maryland, to a larger school that has a large psychology department. If I get in, I'm going to transfer. If I don't, I'll stay here and I'll do dance science. It's fine. Or maybe I would have still transferred to psychology, but at a small school. I got in. I transferred and literally, like, I mean, I danced when I was there, but for fun, for freshman year and sophomore year, I remember, or actually, I transferred sophomore year. So, sophomore year and junior year, I danced for fun. I was like in their dance festivals, but I wasn't in their like anything dance like I was a Goucher. I immediately joined all the psychology clubs. I remember I was president of, I'm really nerding. I was president of the Psych High Honor Society my senior year. I was all out, really into it. I sought out, actually, this part's in my intro. I sought out um, a health education professor that specializes in stress and resilience in the health education department. And I sought out a professor in the psychology department that specializes in eating disorders. And the two of them kind of became my mentors. And I thought at the time I was creating a field of study called health psychology
Hmm.
that already existed, but I didn't know. So I kind of double majored in health education and psychology, knowing that I wanted to help individuals like dancers that are struggling with their weight one way or another. And that's kind of how it all started. So actually, Dr. Shiraldi was that stress management professor who also endorsed my book, which was very, very nice. Years later, like maybe 6 months ago, I reached out to him to tell him really how life-changing it was to connect with him. And he let me do research with him in undergrad, as like a new transfer in, not knowing what I was doing.
Mhm.
not knowing me at all. And yeah, so that's kind of, I really started, I would say sophomore year, combining this entrance of the mind body connection that young,
Yeah.
with stress management disordered eating behaviors. So yeah, but I never wanted to be a psychologist.
Your mother must be so proud now.
I know she is. Yes. So
Oh,
yeah, it was a long story, but
that was a great story. I mean, there is always a why, right?
there is. Yeah. And I know a lot of people in this field do go into this field because of personal experiences. So I remember actually, years ago, people would always ask me, like, did you struggle with obesity? Did you struggle with an eating disorder? And the answer is no. I'm honest.
Mhm.
I do think we all struggle with our weight at one time or another. And I definitely had the freshman 15 and struggled with that at that time. But I really got into it because of what I was observing around me. And I really am a curious individual. Anybody that knows me, I want to know the why. I want to know how. I want to know why. I want to ask all the questions. So that's how I got to be here.
And may you continue to have that hunger for the why and the curiosity,
Thank you.
no matter how how old
How
you
middle-aged I am.
Exactly. So when Life Happens comes out April 7th, beautiful, with a foreword by Pilar Guzman, right? Who is
Yes.
the chief
The
editor.
editorial director of Oprah Daily.
Amazing.
Yes.
And I will put the link to purchase the book so people have it.
And when life happens.
Oh, the t-shirt. You got some merch. I love
Yes. Well, I got it made for me for now for these fun things,
it.
but we'll
Okay.
see if there's an interest.
Hey, maybe
Yes.
when you go on tour and
That could be fun. I do have stickers though, too.
love it, because life happens all the time. We're all
Exactly.
lifing.
We are just lifing. It is true.
Oh, thank you for being here. And I can't wait to meet you live and hug you in New York or Maryland or LA or Chicago, wherever.
Wherever life brings us.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
I love that. And I want to just thank you again, first for having me on, but more importantly, for just connecting. Like I always say, like DM me. Like literally, I always say, like, Instagram, social media is not therapy.
Yeah.
But I love connecting with people. So I love that you did that. You just like connected and you're like took that chance because I do actually answer 99.9% of my DMs.
Girl, you
Um,
even have your email address printed in your book.
oh, I do. You're right. Yes, and I encourage people to email me. I
That's
I want
awesome.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, there's little parts in between the book that I do say, if you want to check in, give me an update, tell me your why, tell me your goal, tell me where you are in the book. I want to hear from you. But I love, Kelly, that you did that. You just were like, hey, yeah, I'm going to connect. Hillary said I should. I'm going to. Let's do it. So
Worst
I
somebody
just
can say is no or not answer. So
Wait, so you just said I feel like this is another tagline. It needs to be.
I
I
love mine.
always say, yes, I always say, if you don't ask, the answer is no.
Yeah, I love
What
that.
was the harm?
Cool.
So you sent a message. I
Mm,
did answer though.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And we're here. Life happened. We're here.
Awesome. And to everybody listening, just a friendly reminder to be the change that you wish to see in the world, whether it's with yourself, your family, or your community. Have a great day. Thanks for being here.